Man, from a standings perspective, this might have been the worst case scenario. Really. Because when it comes to the Canucks and the LA Kings playing tonight on March 25th, 2024, this was one of only 2 games that was going on in the NHL on this day. And the other game, which was between St. Louis and Vegas, had Vancouver Canucks playoff implications attached to it. Should the St. Louis Blues lose in any capacity and the Vancouver Canucks win against LA, the Canucks would have clinched a playoff spot. But no, we ended up not getting that scenario. The Blues did lose, but the Vancouver Canucks could not capitalize and defeat LA. They lose to LA 3-2 in regulation. So, even though the option is still available for the Vancouver Canucks to clinch in the upcoming few days, this was one of the games where you really have to sit back and say, yeah, I hope they don't play the LA Kings in the first round, my goodness. Just in case you needed the update, the St. Louis Blues lost in overtime to Vegas after the Blues had a chance to win it, actually. They had a penalty shot that was stopped up in overtime, but inevitably it doesn't go and the Knights take it 2-1. But the Vancouver Canucks playing off against the LA Kings tonight were just limited to 23 shots on goal. They scored twice, but one of them came in the last few minutes with the empty net and the goalie pulled. The LA Kings getting 19 shots on goal themselves and scoring 3. You know, I had a few buddies that went to this game, actually. They were posting it on their Instagram stories. We were talking about it before the game began. Oh yeah, like they're downtown, just gonna check out the game. They got their student rush tickets, whatever. So I did have some people that were at the arena watching the game. But I gotta say, I feel bad. I feel really, really bad for them because they wasted their hard-earned money to watch what was essentially like 50 minutes of the most boring hockey imaginable, only to get excited at the end, see the Canucks not be able to tie it, and then go home disappointed because the team lost in regulation. The LA Kings play some of the most boring hockey imaginable. That 1-3-1, clog up the middle and shut down all lanes to the net strategy, I'm not going to say it's dumb. It works. It's effective. It helped them win this game today, so I don't think I have the right to say that this strategy is dumb. But from a viewership perspective, from people that are in Rogers Arena watching the game go back and forth, from us at home listening to Shorty and hearing about what's going on in the game, there was nothing that went on. My goodness, the LA Kings play shutdown hockey to a T. They don't care about scoring goals. They just care about making sure that the opponent's lives are as difficult as it is possible to get the puck to the front of the net and to get any meaningful scoring opportunities. And for some reason, you know, it feels like this style of game works so well against the Vancouver Canucks. I know the Canucks beat the Kings a few weeks ago during their California road trip, but during this game, and I think during one of the earlier games against LA too, it's so effective. Their 1-3-1 defensive system. The Canucks just have nothing. They respond with dumping and chasing and losing the puck in the offensive zone, going back the opposite way, taking it back, dumping and chasing, and getting your change in. That cycle just repeated over and over again in this game. And there were segments throughout the second period, especially, where we didn't have any whistles. There's like 4 whistles in the first 15 minutes of the second period, whatever it was. Like, the game was so fluid, but it was so boring at the same time that I'm starting to think, yeah, I don't want the Canucks to play the LA Kings in the first round. At least if it's St. Louis or if it's, I don't know, Nashville, you're going to get some high-flying offense. Not to say that neither of those teams are, you know, high flyers. It's just they don't play the same defensive style that the LA Kings do. And if it's some other team like Vegas, at the end of the day, that's going to be a crazy matchup. Maybe the best quality of opponent the Canucks could face in the first round. I would maybe even be more good with the Vegas opening playoff series, just from a fun perspective, you know, from an entertainment watching the team play perspective. Because this game sucked. I'm sorry. Like, boring hockey, just boring, waste of time, honestly, if you're watching from the entertainment perspective. You know, you watch sports to get entertained. This was not entertaining. It was just, like, frustrating because, yeah, they can't get any shots on. Like, the Kings are shutting everything down. They're doing it well, but I'm not going to say that this is fun to watch. Let's go out there and review some of the notes here because the game started out with a lot of rough stuff. Just in the first whistle, there was already a big scrum behind the Canucks net, and I think they said after the game that this LA and Canucks game had 70 hits, and it was the third most hits in one single game this season so far. Something crazy like that. This was one of the most physical games of the entire NHL season. That's kind of nuts when you think about it, but when you really watch some of the tape, it's like, yeah, these teams weren't getting any offense, so they had to resort to hitting. That's all they were doing. First penalty of the game goes to Adrian Kempe. He was roughing after a weird hit on Carson Soucy. The Kings are able to kill it off. First goal of the game comes about 8 minutes into the first. It's Pierre-Luc Dubois who is allowed to walk right in on the right side. He centers it for Fiala, who scores cross crease, and the odd part is the Canucks just kind of let both of these guys, Fiala and Dubois, walk in with impunity. No challenge, no contest, whatever. They had free reign. What was that? Like, why? Guys, get your checks, pay attention, eh? Give it about 5 minutes, though, and the Canucks eventually respond. It's a beautiful goal by Sam Lafferty. He circles around his Czech Laferriere on the faceoff circle, drives to the net, dekes into the middle, and goes right around Cam Talbot to tie the game up 1-1. Also, big shout-out to Vasily Podkolzin, who went out there and pretty much stopped up the LA defender in front from being able to take that lane away. Podkolzin also got himself an assist on that goal, so he had a great game, honestly. The Canucks then go to the box. It's Quinn Hughes for slashing, a pretty irresponsible penalty to take, unfortunately. It was a scrambly power play. DeSmith had to make some clutch saves, and the Canucks killed it off. Standouts also included Nils Höglander, who had a really good drive to the net in the first period, but he was not able to bury it. In the second period, though, you had a little bit more action, just a tad more, not too much. Great defensive play by Tyler Myers to dive and poke the puck away on an odd man rush. Sam Lafferty kept up the momentum. He almost scored a second time after a great wraparound centering chance. And Ilya Mikheyev got a great point-blank opportunity robbed by the pads of Cam Talbot on a Myers rebound as well. Eventually, the Kings strike back a little bit with their own opportunities. Quinton Byfield had a dangerous cross crease on the rush to Matt Roy, who missed it. But eventually, the Kings make it 2-1 and then 3-1 with two very quick goals. The first one, it's Blake Lizotte, who takes a shot on a delayed penalty. It's 6-on-5 with the empty net. And Lizotte throws it into the middle. It goes off of Soucy's skate, and it goes in. Unlucky bounce. It actually went off a Cole and then off a Soucy and then in. So 2-1 hockey game right there. Give it a few more minutes, and then it's Anze Kopitar who scores. He comes in from behind the net to put the loose puck in after the puck kind of bounced off of Quinn Hughes' skate. Quinn kind of kicked it to the open side where Kopitar was right there, and the puck ends up going in. It's a 3-1 game. That is all she wrote in the second period. There were some chances at the end there for the Canucks. Garland and Pettersson exchanged some opportunities at the end of the second, but they could not bury it. And by the time the third period began, this is where I'm just getting frustrated as a fan just watching. The Canucks not stringing together any offense. The Kings are playing such a boring, shut-down style. Casey DeSmith makes a really good save on Blake Lizotte, who has a mini breakaway. But the Canucks ultimately shoot themselves in the foot with about 7 minutes to go because, whilst in the midst of a really good offensive zone shift, you had Brock Boeser take an interference penalty in the offensive zone. The Canucks are able to kill it off, but there's about 5 minutes left in the third period at this point. The Canucks then get the empty net, 6-on-5. Hughes goes over to Boeser, he takes a slap shot, and it goes off of Kopitar and in. The Canucks bring the game within one with 3 minutes to go. Boeser from Hughes and Miller gives the building hope, and I will say the final few minutes of this third period were exciting. Really great hockey, but of course, the Canucks were 6-on-5 the entire time, so they had to have possession. Drew Doughty got high-sticked by Vasily Podkolzin, and there was no call on that. Doughty was actually bleeding, so the Canucks honestly got really lucky with that. But despite their great puck movement, good scoring opportunities, and good looks towards the net, the Canucks are not able to bury it. Mikey Anderson even took a penalty in the Kings' corner with 20 seconds to go. It was 6-on-4 at the end of the game, but Canucks are not able to get one on net. They lose this one 3-2. Honestly, it's worst case scenario when you involve the St. Louis Blues and Vegas results into it, because the Vegas Golden Knights are still keeping in there. St. Louis, man, whether they won or lost, either would have been fine. It's just the Canucks were not able to get things going. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Canucks and the LA Kings. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.